so we can post it to our district's YouTube channel, just if people want to reference it later on, just so that you all know. Share my screen here. All right. Well, thanks everyone for signing on. I imagine we might have a couple more people trickling on. I said earlier that we had, I think, 16 people pre-registered. So I imagine we'll kind of continue to get people coming in over the next few minutes, but we'll catch them up. For those of you that I haven't met yet, I'm Jenny. I volunteer with the district on the membership team. And we have started putting together, our team has been doing monthly events like this, and we try to shake it up between programming and topics and presenters. And then today's is just more of an open roundtable kind of idea swap. I have a couple prompts just to get the conversation started, in case anyone, if anyone's sitting there dying for a certain topic, please let me know, because I want these to reflect what everyone needs. But we'll kind of get started. I was going to start today by just giving you a little update on the district and some of our membership progress, because it's pretty exciting. Some of you probably got Matt's email from Each One Bring One. I just saw that come through. And so it's actually changed even since I talked to him. Matt, we even have more since you sent that email. So kind of cool little to see where we are. So as of yesterday, I pulled our report from Rotary International, and our district is up 48 members across our entire district, which is even more than when I told Matt about it last week, because I ran an up-to-date report, not just a month-end report. And so for context of where were we on October 11th in 2020, our district was minus 20 in our total membership. So that's pretty cool to see that progress. And I know that reflects a lot of the hard work that all of you are doing. Price, I saw your hand up.
That was me trying to give a woohoo type reaction, and failing miserably. So I cannot channel MJ. I don't know what the problem is, but I'll keep trying. Spirit fingers,
try spirit fingers.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries, no worries. But yeah, so that's cool. I think that reflects how creative and innovative clubs are getting. And so this is just one piece of the puzzle, as we know, right? Introducing new people to Rotary and attracting new members is one piece. Then we have to do the business of actually keeping those members and keeping them engaged and continuing to grow the work that we do. But I think that's pretty cool. For context, just so you know a little bit more behind the numbers, I pulled our official data from Rotary International yesterday. That's the two big numbers you see on the screen. And just so you know, I often will pull reports from DAC-DB as well, which sometimes aren't reconciled yet. So if you hear me say numbers that don't quite line up, if they're one or two off, every once in a while, a member will be duplicated in DAC-DB if they accidentally got added twice or something like that. But something pretty cool to think about. As of October 11th in 2021, from July 1st to October 11th, we have welcomed 114 new people to Rotary in our district. And for context, October 11th, 2020, we had welcomed only 45 new members during that same look back period a year ago. So far to date, we've terminated about 67 members. And again, sometimes they're duplicates, so it's not really a termination. So that's why if you're sitting there doing the math with your calculator saying that doesn't work out to 48, it's because it scrubs some of those duplicates. I just didn't take the time to go through and count them all myself. But we've terminated about 67 members in 2021. And in 2020, same time period, we had terminated 92 members. So if we don't get too far into the weeds on matching people up and how long someone was a member, of course, we've had some members of our district have passed away, of course. And so we don't get too far in the weeds. What I'm seeing from this is one, that our clubs are really working hard at attracting new members, but also starting to move the needle on that retention and engagement piece, which I think is really cool. Yes, so yes, very exciting, very cool to see. All right, some more nerdy numbers just to give some context. This is a number that I've been paying attention since I started volunteering with the district. Is, I think Rotary, we have historically done a great job of getting our message out there and talking. Our clubs do a great job at that. Where we sometimes have room for improvement is in our retention. So this year compared to last year, our retention is up 6%. It's still early in the year, so I wouldn't draw too many big conclusions, but that's a promising number to me. So in the last 5 to 6 years, we have never passed 90% retention rates. So when we look back at a current year at our members, and we look back and say, okay, 18 months ago, how many of the people who joined 18 months ago are still a member of Rotary? And typically we're sitting anywhere between like 85 to 87% retention. And one of my goals has been to get that up above 90%. So right now we're sitting at about 93% retention. And when you look at that same kind of look back period, again, we're really early into the year, but we've never had this high of a retention rate this early in the Rotary year. So I think it's really promising. And our, very few people who joined Rotary last year have left Rotary. So I think we've done a good job at that early engagement, early onboarding piece. And so I think all of the hard work, I know a lot of clubs are working on onboarding and engagement strategies and all of these kind of new plans. And I share this number to say it's working. We're making progress. We're moving the needle, and that's really cool. Any questions about any of the nerdy stuff before we move on? I just kind of like to share a little snapshot of where we are. Any questions, comments, reactions?
Yeah, I mean, this plus 6% looks so great, but to understand this, you're saying that it is essentially when we're usually at around 85% of people who stay after 18 months. This year, we're at 91% of people who stay after 18 months. And it's not that, not including all those people that have been in for 40 years and are still here next year, but you're just looking at the cohort that have joined in the last 18 months. Is that right?
Yeah, I just did a small look back period. And I can definitely, if anyone really wants to nerd out on the analysis of this stuff, I can give even more detail so we could actually draw some conclusions. But typically this time of year, we're looking at about 3% of an increase. So that this is exciting to see, such a dramatic, and I hope this is an upward trend.
Well, I just looking at the faces that I see in the gallery, and looking at the faces I see in my Rotary meeting on Wednesday mornings, we are trending younger, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of the work that we've been doing over the past couple of years, and then, even the last 5 or 6 years at the club level and at the district level, I think it's really we're starting to really see the return on that, which is cool. Awesome. Anyone else have questions about, again, these are just snapshot numbers, but if anyone really wants to dig down into the detail, I'm always willing to whip together a chart and a spreadsheet. All right, cool. So just for the sake of getting conversation started and getting things started, I would love to hear just one word, either unmute yourself and share, or just drop it in the chat box about how membership is going in your club. So one word. Fantabulous.
Well.
Yeah, I think we can all speak to how things are going in Terry's club. I know Matt's been had some communication with them there.
Yeah, Terry's really knocking it out of the park, Jenny. Amazing. I was looking back at the submissions, and one month was 10, another month was 15 visitors. I mean, they're really taking it to a new level.
Thursday was +9.
That's cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, Matt Weidman, who's on the screen, he manages our Each One Bring One campaign initiative for the district. So Terry's club has been really engaging in that and introducing a lot of new people to Rotary. So I see Fantabulous, Awakening, Getting Younger, Upward, Stable. Great. And if anyone is thinking that they don't have such a positive word, it's okay you can drop it to me privately if you don't want to like out yourself in the meeting, that's fine too. Because these are all pretty positive words, but I think there's a lot of really cool energy around membership. As I've gotten to talk with some clubs, and I've talked with District Governor Mary Jane, and she's kind of shared that too, of this, almost electric feeling with some of the clubs that are getting really excited about digging in and trying out new stuff with membership. Cool. Does anyone have a topic or a thought or something that you really wanted to kick out to the group or get feedback on? I have some conversation starters, but anyone have something that they're really hoping to chew on during this session?
I just want to say, just to support something you said, and that is the importance of retention, not just as a Rotarian, but I used to be a human resource director. So I saw how expensive it was to rehire and rehire. And I think retention is the key out of the revolving door.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you too, Marty.
Hey, Jenny, not to throw Terry on the spot, but I was kind of curious. I know he's retained a lot of, or converted, I guess I should say, a lot of people who showed up to meetings into members. And I was wondering if Terry wouldn't mind sharing if there's any kind of deliberate strategy there or any tips from his experience.
I'll be happy to. I'd love to tell you that there's a science or a strategy behind it, but there's not. The one thing that we talked about at the beginning of the year when I did my July 1st speech to the club was we have a thing in ours where you go from red badge to blue badge, and when you do that, you have to go through this hit list of items, and one of those items is bring a guest to Rotary, right? And we all know how that works, right? You're leaving the office and you're like, oh crap, I got to get a visitor for Rotary. So you grab a person that's sitting in your office, you drag them into the meeting who has no real strong desire or hope probably to even be there except for the free meal. So what we talked about at the beginning of the meeting in the first day of the year was, we talked about the everyone bring one from a standpoint of the person we're looking for is that person that you go to the football game with, that person you go shopping with on the weekends, that person that you are in church with and doing projects at church. Like that's the person that we want you to introduce to our club and what we do. And we've just reinforced that week after week. The probably the bigger success that we've seen is engaging them in service projects early. Jenny mentioned at the beginning of the call that a person I sent over to the Athens group has already helped out on service projects, is not even a member. 3 of our new members that are already signed in had over 15 service hours combined before they even joined the club. And I think that was just a great way for them to see a project happening, something going on, something being done in the community that they live in that they want to be a part of. And that has energized them to want to stay in the club. So the other thing that I will share is People's Bank is pretty big in our area, but they're also big throughout a lot of our Rotary district. And they have a professional development program that brings in a lot of kids right out of college, takes them through a 18-month professional development program, and then they can pick and choose the location that they go to inside of People's Bank and stay. And we found a way to integrate with that community as well, just to find those fresh young minds and see where they were looking to stay. And the ones that had targeted Marietta as their place of being is the ones that we reached out to and tried to get involved in our club as well. So I'm sure there are other companies, People's Bank's just an example, that have a development community like that. But to find out and target who those are and try to reach out to those groups was another thing that we found has been pretty successful as well. And the third thing, I think, if I had to list anything, is it's the energy in the room. I found it's kind of like my old adage with is the the bartender sets the mood for the night at the bar. The Rotarian in the room sets the mood for the other Rotarians that are visiting that day. If there's a lot of whispering going on or not a lot of engagement when they walk in the door as a visitor, then you're probably not going to get them. But if you catch them as they come in and make them feel welcome and keep inviting them back, They do. I mean, they just have. I mean, like I said, we've lost 3 and gained 12 this year. So those would be my tidbits.
That's awesome. Sheila, did you have a question?
Yes, we don't have a good new member orientation program now. And I was wondering if we could do that. The reason we don't, it was so hard to get new members together in one place at one time to do it. I'm wondering if we can either in this group or in the district training team do a new member orientation. And we could do breakout rooms for the different clubs or.
Yeah, so that's well timed, Sheila. There's two things that I have for that. One is Mike Lieber just recently joined the district membership team and is working on kind of a monthly networking event that's more high level, probably doesn't check all the boxes of what you're talking about, but kind of a monthly networking education onboarding type event for new members district wide. Our hope is like by the end of the calendar year that could be ready to roll. And I know that he'll be reaching out to your team on some supplemental topics to add into that. And then the other piece that the district membership team has been workshopping, and this doesn't necessarily resolve your question, but a lot of clubs are wanting to revamp or adjust or develop for the first time a new member onboarding and orientation program that's like more manageable and can actually happen. So we're planning like kind of a large scale intensive event to help clubs workshop and develop their own plans and be able to implement them. Almost, I've been calling it like Frankensteining together the plan of kind of, you know, if you want to include this piece, here's 5 examples of that element. And here's 3 examples of this element to choose from, and then kind of put it together and you're able to put it into action right away, because some of those more traditional like red badge programs and things like that are very involved. And so sometimes they're, you know, they're not working for some clubs. Other clubs are able to implement them and keep them going. And I know a lot of clubs are really wanting to add a mentoring piece to their onboarding and orientation, but it's like getting all those pieces together. So we have 2 things kind of coming to help with that. So I don't know if that directly answers your question, but that's kind of 2 things that we're working on a little bit. Cool. Anyone else have any thoughts or questions? Go ahead, Sheila.
I was going to say maybe the district training team and your team could get together to, you know, to put some pieces together. We could help you put some pieces together.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. Yeah, Mike and I are planning to connect sometime in the next week to get ourselves organized, and then hopefully maybe we could have like a joint meeting to plug in some of the programming pieces to it. Awesome. Someone else had a suggestion. Oh, go ahead, Price.
Well, Steve had a very thoughtful suggestion in the chat that we may want to talk about as a group. I was listening to Marty and then Terry, and then thinking about a conversation that I had recently with a past district governor who his favorite number is 7. If you know who I'm talking about, we were talking about the fact that you know, this Each One Bring One campaign is really fabulous because it gets us all thinking about asking someone, but the starting place, and this really goes back again to what Marty and Terry were saying, is having happy, engaged Rotarians in your club. So the club, making the club meetings exciting, having great service projects, all the things that vibrant clubs do, having great social events. Of course, I don't want to forget that one. So those are the things that keep us all tied together in Rotary, right? They allow us to reinforce all of the reasons that we said yes in the first place. Then we can think about, and then I think it's really easy to think about who we would ask to to come to a meeting with us or come to a social project or a happy hour event. And I may be previewing some of the things I'm thinking about for my club talk next year. But one of the things that I was thinking about was like, who is a good person to ask to come to a Rotary meeting or to get involved with Rotary? Is it the person who is works at People's Bank and wants to get involved in the community? Is it that person who is already in a service role, like the mayor of your town? Is it that nerdy person that you think is really strange but loves service projects? The answer is yes to all of those, because by the way, I'm that third person, oh, thanks, Marty. I saw that. I saw your mouth moving. So that's how it starts, with this idea of being engaged. And I think, all of us that took the time today to join this Zoom chat, we're already the converted, right? So it's a matter of thinking about ways to continue to spread the love, the Rotary love.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And also, Steve, I saw your chat. I love your suggestion in the chat as well about, obviously we want to continue to offer these kind of sessions to check in, and they alternate. Actually, next month's is all about each one bring one. And last month's was about leads. So, Becky did the one with leads. But no, I think any opportunities to get together more locally and foster that kind of collaboration between clubs that, already naturally could be working together, I think make a lot of sense. I think that's a good suggestion.
Hey,
Great.
Todd Belt. Am I on mute?
Nope, you're good.
Oh, okay. Quick question, maybe to the whole panel here. So how many clubs are completely, I don't want to say 100% back to normal, but back on their normal cadence that they were pre-COVID versus, and Jenny, you may know the answer to this without asking the whole club here, or their club's totally disrupted still with meeting schedules. And I'm just curious, because our club is totally changed, probably forever, for several reasons, and I won't bore everybody with the details, but we went from meeting every week to once a month now, and it's not by our choosing. The restaurant, the Granville Inn, they're not open on Mondays anymore for lunch because they can't staff, and how all that goes. But so I'm just curious: are most clubs back to normal, or is everybody's club had to make adjustments that look like it's going to be that way forever?
Yeah, go ahead, Carol.
I'll throw in. When we first shut down, our club went totally virtual, and none of us knew anything about how to do that. And so we got some people who were willing to jump in, and we got all used to all Zoom all the time. And then when we wanted to come back, the place where we had been going no longer was willing to bring in extra staff to run breakfast for us. Yep. Because we were basically the only customers, and they wanted to limit how many people, and that didn't really go along with welcoming new people. So we sought out different locations, and the club decided, based on the leads that our leaders were finding, to go with a co-working space that had a rather large kind of open meeting room. Then we have catering 3 out of 4 weeks, and then the 4th week, the president brings in a pre-made order from Panera, just to. And then the 5th week we don't have a meeting; we have a social event. So we're all hybrid all the time. So now people who used to go away to the shore or to Michigan, they're there for our meetings, or people in Arizona visiting grandchildren, they get to introduce their grandchildren. It's added. It's not the same as it was, but it is more fun and we're and even people who had pandemic babies have been regular attendees, and we've gotten to meet their babies too and know why they aren't coming.
Right.
Carol, do you have any tips? Because that's a question that comes up a lot on like successfully doing the hybrid meetings, right? That there's kind of an art to that. Do you have any tips on how to make that go successfully so that both in-person and hybrid attendees are engaged?
Well, and the one thing I was kind of interested in a little bit is, are most clubs just trying to make do with what they've kind of figured out for now, or most clubs, you know, obviously you had to make adjustments, but then is this it? Is it just because I kind of see our club not going back to the way we did things before. And it has its good and its bad, but I'm just wondering if most clubs are just trying to make do with a little bit of Zoom, a little bit of social, a little bit of in-person, and then that's just gonna be the way it is for the long haul.
I'm not so sure that not being able to go back to the way it was is a bad thing in general, because those of us who've been around Rotary for a while, the way we used to do things is kind of like, what are those things? You know, so COVID or no COVID, my club is, I'm new to my club, but we've certainly adjusted from before COVID, but in a little bit better place. And I don't know, I don't, just what I said, I don't think going back to the way things used to be is realistic.
I know when I first joined Rotary, I kind of felt like, I'm old enough to say this, I kind of felt like I was going to Howard Cunningham's Grand Poopah Happy Days. I think most of us here are Happy Days people. Very structured, you know, suit and tie, that type of atmosphere. And now it's definitely loosened up a lot, but there's a lot of different directions you can go with it now. But it sounds to me like everybody's permanently changed forever. That's kind of what I was wanting to know.
The problem in our club is people are tired of Zoom meetings. And so
No?
if they're not comfortable coming in person, they've sort of dropped off the Zoom meetings too.
Yep. We definitely don't get the turnout for a Zoom meeting once a month that we get for the in-person. There's no comparison. Probably double in person. We probably get, I don't know, our club's 65, 70. We probably get 20 to 30 in person and half that on a Zoom. And it's the same Zoom people every week. Nobody new.
I guess ours is probably one of the ones that I feel has come back pretty close to normal, not full. We took a break off again last fall after Thanksgiving through the end of the year, and then came back in Zoom meetings in January on a weekly basis. And then I think the hotel that we eat at offered us to come back in March. And we haven't stopped since March. Now, when we came back in March, it was a lot of hybrid. We put in some investment in the equipment that did a good Zoom meeting so that we had a good camera and good microphones so that the audio came through real clear. It wasn't a huge investment on the club's behalf, but definitely was beneficial. And now we have a weekly Zoom that we allow them to sign into. But what we found is there was that staple, like you're talking about, Todd, that there's those staple 20 people that are always there. And I think what we did is use those 20 people to lift up the rest of the group to get them back into a habit. You know, it takes 30 days to build a habit. It takes 1 day to break it. So how do you get them back into that habit? And we just started encouraging more people to pick up somebody, bring them to a meeting, or maybe a Rotarian went to a shut-in's house or somebody who didn't want to come out and help them get on Zoom so they could still be a part of the meeting. And now they wanted to be back there because they saw it and they want to be in person now. So I think it's all about the club lifting itself back up to be what they want it to be.
What club are you, Terry?
I'm the Rotary Club of Marietta, which is the Noon Club in Marietta, Ohio.
Roughly how many members?
We're at 101.
Oh, wow. Okay. Good sized club.
I'm with Sunbury Galena Club, and I joined during COVID, so I don't have a great gauge on prior to, but I feel like we are completely back to normal. We offer Zoom every week, and there's usually a few people, and it's a nice option. The only issue is that we meet in the town hall, and the acoustics are really not great at all. And it's hard to hear sometimes. And I know they're potentially getting some kind of new system, which would really make that nice. But, you know, I mean, we're doing a service project here in a few weeks, and that's in person. So everything that we've been doing has been in person for quite some time, and people have the option to do what they're comfortable with. So I think that we'll continue with the hybrid moving forward all the time, just because it gives people an option. And we have younger members. We're trying to get younger members, and, you know, we have working, obviously working parents. And so it gives them the option to tune in virtually when they can't make the meeting because they just are trying to get their kids off on the bus, or, you know, can't leave the house yet, but they can come in to the meeting at 7:30 in the morning and attend, and then kind of go with their day. So it's worked well, I think.
Great, thanks for sharing.
Terry, can you tell us about the camera? What kind of camera do you use? Is it?
We went with a system from Logitech called Logitech Group, and it has a big bass microphone that's got a noise canceller in it and a camera that attaches. So we put that by the laptop where we do the PowerPoints, and there's a speaker right there that we blast out to the crowd. So it kind of funnels the audio into the laptop directly. And then the camera's got a real nice zoom range on it. So even though our podium is probably 50 feet away from where the laptop is, we can still zoom in on that person that's standing at the podium. But the product was called Logitech Group. I think they were hard to get there for a little while, but I want to say they were like around $1,300. But they also have expansion mics in case you want to spread out and put a little. The trick that we had actually was the opposite. Is it's a really high range reaching microphone. So when you start your Zoom meeting, you got to let everybody in the room know that as soon as you start the meeting, the microphone's live, because they can hear everything, even that private conversation that might be going on the table sitting right next to the laptop. So it's a little bit of a training curve, but I think once you get used to it, it's good.
I can talk a little bit about our setup. What you see here is this is the person's phone. My phone in this case is our microphone, and also this is the phone also serves as the camera for the speaker, and and when we're sharing things around, like having happy bucks at the beginning, the president or somebody will run around, and when somebody raises their hand, go up to them and put the phone in their face, and so that feed goes to the people that are away. So this is the mic, but the sound is turned off on this because this is the speaker put about 3 feet away from the mic so that there's not feedback, something that we've learned through painful experience. Then we run the whole meeting and the Zoom on the laptop, which I'm talking to you on the laptop, so I can't show it to you. But then the laptop just has a regular C cable, and then this I'm not sure, this is Dave Jones's, our president, and this is his stuff, but it's basically a connector to get to an HDMI, and the HDMI just plugs right into the big television screen that is in our the community room. So it takes a little setting up, but it's nowhere near $1,000. And it's been very flexible for us, and it's allowed the people at home are in a window on the big screen. So they're behind the presenter. So the presenter, even if the presenter is running a PowerPoint, they can see their PowerPoint and tell when they're no longer doing their PowerPoint, somebody can remember, oh, it'd be nice to see all the people in the window frames also. And so it gives equal voice to the people who are attending from someplace else when they want to put in happy bucks, or when they want to talk about the Rotary meetings they've just attended, or interesting things that they want. If they want to ask the speaker a question, they have just as much voice as anybody else. That helps.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, of making sure that everyone is able to participate in the same way. I've definitely been to not even just Rotary meetings, but just those hybrid meetings where kind of if you're zooming in, you're kind of just a spectator. So it sounds like your club's done a great job of making sure that everyone is really engaged and equally participating. Perfect. Anyone else have questions, thoughts, insights? Yeah, go ahead, Sheila.
I think what would help us if we had a person just to take care of the Zoom audience and take the phone around to the people giving happy bucks and things. I think that would help.
That's something for one of your members who is too shy to be in front of the camera to get voluntold.
Yeah, I think I imagine, a lot of clubs assign greeters, each week or something. And this is just kind of another, like one of those jobs where you could, someone could be in charge of it for a couple of weeks and walking around and things. I know some clubs even just assign someone to kind of make sure that none of the chats are getting overlooked or anything like that as well. So that could all, I imagine, be an integrated role. Great. That's a lot of really good feedback. It's also signaling to me of, things that as we move forward, I think, Todd kind of mentioned, or maybe Marty said, there are, at some point it might not be getting back to normal. It might just be kind of moving forward, and forward just looks different than when we looked back. So I'm sensing that this need that I'm hearing of figuring out all this hybrid stuff. And it's hard to have like a one size fits all, because every club meets differently. Every club meets in a different space and has a, kind of a different way of doing things. But my mind is already turning on ways that we can support those efforts as we kind of move forward and settle in a little bit. Price asks a good question in the chat. Todd, if you don't mind sharing a little bit more about your kind of alternative meeting model that Granville's using. And also Carol was nice enough to share and invite all of us to their hybrid meeting tomorrow.
Sure. Yeah, our model's pretty simple. Well, like I said, we probably had one of the most beautiful places in the state of Ohio to meet, at the historic Granville Inn. I don't know if any of you have been in there. Within the last 5 years, I think they put over $10 million in there. It's just beautiful, and it's plenty big, and they don't serve lunch anymore on Mondays. So we had to find a different location, and that's a real struggle in Granville to accommodate 20 to 30 people on a Monday and serve them lunch. So we could only find one place, but they would only let us do it once a month. So we have one in-person meeting, and then the next Monday we have a Zoom meeting. And then the thing that's really different is we're doing a scheduled every month service project. The last one, I couldn't go to the last one, but I think the month before last, we were at the Boys and Girls Club over in Newark, helping them get ready for the school year. And that wasn't necessarily on a Monday at noon, but that was that week. It was scheduled. So that was a couple hours. And then the fourth one is a social. So, and that's just repeat every month. But the only thing I'm finding is it's hard to get a lot of traction. I know a lot of our members that have been around a while, like me, we miss the Monday meetings. It's hard to, your sergeant at arms performs a lot better in front of 20 or 30 people, and they can make fun of people, and it's a lot it's a lot more exciting when you can do that stuff in person. But we're doing the best we can. That's our only option right now. We're hoping that we can move off that once a month and get it to twice, and hopefully 3. So that's basically what we got going on.
Are any other clubs shifting, like Todd, Todd's club has kind of shifted. I know of other clubs in the district are trying out that same thing. So Todd, your club's not alone and kind of shaking it up and mixing up between a service project and a meeting and things like that. Any other folks on the line who are doing something similar? No, I'm not seeing anyone being like, yeah, me. Cool. Well, I have, unless anyone else wants to keep this part of the conversation going, I do have a problem that I thought we could solve all together, if you'll all oblige me. Share my screen again. And so this is kind of a composite story that's coming that I've heard a few times, and I just kind of summarized it and synthesized it together. I'm going to tell you a story. And so a new member named Amaya joined her local Rotary Club about 5 months ago. For the first 2 months, she attended nearly every meeting and was enthusiastically volunteering for projects that came up. During about her 3rd month of membership, Amaya's meeting attendance slowly declined. And she actually hasn't been seen at a meeting or participated in a project for about the past 2 months. So I'm interested, all of you coming from various clubs, and some of you already touched on this, of, what would you do? What would be your first steps, or what would you recommend? What do you think could be the issue if there is an issue? I'm just interested to hear some of your reactions or thoughts. Anyone have an idea?
Pick the phone up first. Call and see what's going on. That would be my first, because we've had that happen.
Yep, pick up the phone, just connect and see what's up. Carol, did you have an idea?
Yeah, one of the best meetings we ever had was one where the speaker didn't show up. I know, but our quick thinking president said, wherever the plan for the meeting is, everybody who is at your table, make a lunch date or a coffee date or something that you're gonna get together. And you can talk to each other now. This is the meeting. You can talk to each other now, but your only assignment is to make a lunch date. And I learned so much and had so much fun meeting and being seen by the other members that I went and had lunch with, that I never would have done. And people, our club is 30 years old, and everybody joined together. And then I'm one of the very older new people, but everybody kind of already knows each other's stories, but I don't. And I don't know if they're going to like me. And being a new person, all I would need is one bad comment to make me feel like, oh, they've been thinking that about me the whole time. And so it's probably a misunderstanding, but whether the person who's doing all the phone calls would be the best person to contact Amaya, often just a random person going and meeting them with no preconceptions would be more successful. Like an initiative, hey, everybody, hey, everybody, here's an email. You have been randomly assigned this person. Please set up with this person a time to go and have coffee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Carol makes a really interesting point. When we look at why people leave Rotary or disengage from Rotary, sometimes we're so focused on them, like their job got busy, their family is taking up a lot of our time. And I think Carol touches on a really important point of turning that look inward, right? Of could we have opened up those conversations? Could we have promoted that? Because, kind of getting back to Price's point, and I think Terry as well, of, what is happening within those opportunities where we are together, whether it's a meeting or a project, and what can we do to continue to move that forward. It's really easy to get comfortable, to cohort together in clubs. And that's kind of the beauty of it, right? But that can be really intimidating when you're walking in and trying to kind of find your way in the fabric of that. And so, Carol, I agree with Price. They would definitely like you, but I am 100% here in identifying and understanding what you're saying there. So I do appreciate that, creating those relationships. I think, you know, Steve's on the call right now, past district governor Steve, and he often says that, you know, we can't overlook the importance of fellowship and the work that we're doing in Rotary. And he brings that point home a lot of that's what, you know, creates those relationships where we depend on each other and trust each other. So great point. Anyone else have any thoughts on Amaya? Yes, Price.
Couple of things just to consider. First, you know, in terms of following up with Amaya in this particular situation, I would encourage people, and I think everyone would be very sensitive, but for example, picking up the phone and saying, hey, we haven't seen you at a meeting for a while. That sounds like you're being checked up on, right? Rather than really wanting to have that person be engaged. It feels like the Rotary police are after you a little bit. So the way to, one thing to consider as a way to try to avoid that situation, first of all, you don't ask that question. You just say, hi, how are you? How are things going? How's your Rotary? I mean, they're a 5-month member. And so it's very fair to say, I want to see how your experience is going so far. Ask an open-ended question. But another thing to consider, and our club has tried this, and I'm not going to say we are expert at it, but mentorship programs where someone comes in and they are assigned kind of the way, you know, kind of in a way that Carol was describing. They're assigned a club member who has kind of been considered as being fully engaged and will really keep track of a new member, and they don't have to have anything in common. I don't think that's important at all. I think it's someone who's engaged and wants to make a connection with that new member and kind of just, you know, keep an eye on them, make sure they're getting integrated, engaged.
Yeah, great point of kind of really keeping that open-ended. I say this all the time. I know Price has heard me say this a million times. So like, we don't know what we don't know of, you know, what's leading to this. And I know lots of clubs are really thinking about how to integrate that mentorship component and that kind of almost two-way orientation. And Carol mentioned something. I was trying to find the link to it because I know I have a template and I'll find that and share it. But about randomly just, you know, helping to cultivate those interpersonal relationships. I'm like moving my hands around like you can see what I'm gesturing. I don't know why I'm doing that. But in my club, we have something called the Rotarizer, where it's just you randomly get paired up with another member and you have a quarter, you know, 3 months to go do something together, whether it's have lunch. Some people have taken it to the extreme and gone like zip lining and like walked across like the New River Gorge Bridge, like some really intense stuff. I've went kayaking, you know, so it's just stuff like that and just get to know each other off the resume a little bit, go have dinner, go grab a beer or whatever. But it's just a fun way to get to know people that you might not, you know, naturally link up to and through your meetings. Yeah, great. And Steve shares some great insight too of just the club has to have a mechanism or a process or, you know, something to stay in touch with new members, either through the mentors or through the club membership committee members, you know, kind of creating those ongoing touch points. Great point, Steve.
A couple things. The thing about mentorship is it's got to be somebody who wants to do it and who will actually do it. It's not the kind of thing you assign to somebody and say, you're going to be a mentor. And I think that's crucially important. And the other thing I was thinking about Amaya is maybe 5 months. It was a little too, if she hadn't been attending in 3 months, in the past 2 months, maybe an intervention a little earlier would have been better. I mean, simply after the second month, following up where it's still something positive. You know, we've loved how involved you've been. What can we do to keep it good for you? You know, after she just missed a couple meetings.
Yeah, that's a great point too of, you know, maintaining that engagement when people, you know, or like maintaining those touch points and opening up that reciprocal feedback when things are going well and not kind of waiting until we're trying to fix something. So great. That's great advice, Marty. Terry, did you have some advice?
Yeah, I mean, we actually had a discussion at one of our board meetings about this as well. But, you know, one of the things that I think our club has always done is we don't make it the membership committee's job to bring in new members. It's portrayed as every Rotarian is on the membership committee. So if you think about it from that aspect, you know, that person that you're nurturing to bring in with you as your guest, you're their natural mentor, right? Because so there's not like you're assigning somebody, it's not switching somebody out. And then as you see, like in this case where Amaya started to slowly descend, you know, the first thing that we would always do is reach out to the person that brought her into the club and say, hey, how's Amaya? Can we get in touch with her? And that makes it more of a personal connection because it's the person who brought them into the club in the first place.
Yeah, great point. Awesome. Well, I just wanted to throw this out there. This is a question that comes up quite a bit in shades of this question of, hey, we've kind of stumped. We felt things were moving really, you know, forward in a good way. And so I thought this would be a good conversation for us to have. And I hope that we'll be able to continue having it. Being mindful of time, however, I do want to alert you just to a few resources that address a lot of the things we were talking about today, and some of them are new, some new fancy stuff from Rotary International. The first is the club health check. And so how I find all of these, if you go log into my Rotary and you go to the Learn tab, you can learn by topic. And if you click Learn by topic and go to membership, all of these are hyperlinked, and I can make sure that if you have trouble finding any of these, let me know. But the Rotary Club Health Check, now's a great time. We have great momentum going in so many clubs. I think it's a great time to do the health check. And it's again, that inward reflection, kind of like Carol was alluding to, of looking at, okay, what can we be, what are those opportunities for us to include more people? What are these opportunities to break down some of these barriers? So I think it's a great time of year to do the club health check. So I encourage you all to check that out. It's a really easy to use tool. There are also new specified assessment tools. So if you're thinking, oh gosh, we have 25 lawyers in our club and that's it, and like that's the majority of our membership, we want to diversify. I know that there are a lot of lawyers on the call, so I wasn't meaning to make a lawyer joke, I'm sorry. But what can we do to diversify even the types of professions that are represented in our club? The classification assessment tool is the tool for you. There's of course some on diversity. I think for us doing membership work, we should always be asking the question, who is missing from this project? Who is missing from this meeting? What are the barriers to that person being able to access and be a part of this work that we're doing? So that's a great tool. There's also a prospective member exercise, which kind of goes back to, I think Terry made this point of being really intentional with the people that we're inviting to Rotary, right? And really being intentional with that. So there's a great prospective member exercise. Also, if you are following along with the Each One Bring One tools, there's also a new member tool in there, brainstorm tool in there as well. And then there's a new retention assessment and analysis, which nerds like me love, but that's another one that you can check out. And then some others in there as well. But check out that section of the Rotary International website. And then my favorite thing that Rotary has come out with in the last year or so related to membership is this club planning assistant. And it itself is not actually a resource, but it curates all of the resources for you and organizes them. So you can go in and answer some questions about what it is you want to work on with your club, and it will recommend all of the tools and organize them for you. So you don't have to like hunt for them on the Rotary International website. It's amazing. It's like going to the museum and having like a personal tour guide. That's the club planning assistant. Check it out. And if you have trouble with any of these, please let me know and I can troubleshoot. But I always go, to learn by topic, and you can go to that membership section of the Rotary International website. Oh yeah, Steve, I do want to draw attention to Steve's comment of maybe not calling it a mentorship program and kind of calling it a fellowship program. Yeah, because he does make this point of, in our work, right, everyone comes into Rotary and we should be level set, right? All members should be level set. There aren't members who are more important or less important or more all of those things. So really approaching it from this two-way orientation or two-way mentorship is a great model. Thanks for sharing that, Steve. All right. And finally, just so that you all know, you do have a team of people volunteering with the district, working on membership. I've listed all our names there. We all kind of have our own little pieces that we take and run with. So, but definitely reach out to any of us. We try to be really responsive to what clubs are telling us is useful and what can be helpful to you moving forward. Please check your inboxes and check the Rotary District calendar at rotary6690.org. And you can save the date for next month's session, which is all about each one bring one. And we'll alternate between open style sharing like this and then, actual topics that deep dive into specific topics. So we hope that you'll continue to join us. Give us feedback on what you want. If you want us to change a topic or want us to really focus on something, we can do that. We really want to be reflective of your needs. But there are 4 minutes left. Any last questions, thoughts, things you want us to know?
I just would say thank you to Jenny and the membership team. You guys are doing a great job. Really appreciate you holding these sessions. Wish we had more people tuning in, because these are great discussions about how we can, like I said, spread the Rotary love. Or Rotary happy, depending on your hashtag.
Yes. I mean, I appreciate Rotary happy. I mean, I have the t-shirt, I did the trip, took the t-shirt, but thank you all for, contributing this discussion. I loved how this discussion went, how we're sharing amongst our clubs and visit each other, go to each other's meetings, share, steal, borrow, adapt ideas. That's really, what we're all supposed to be doing here. So I am very grateful that you all spent the last hour with me, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. And Terry, if you want to hang on, you want to stay on and we can chat then? Okay, so I'll see everyone later.